Welcome back to math class. Yesterday, I asked you to review 8-4 before we started our lesson. If you didn't do that, we're also going to use what we learned in 8-4 today, so make sure you really know it before we get going. Okay, so what we learned in 8-4, another thing we learned in 8-4 was that when we had perfect squares like a plus b squared or a minus b squared, we learned that they equal a plus b squared equals a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, right? And a minus b squared equals a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. That's what we learned in 8-4. Conversely, today, what we're going to talk about is, just like with yesterday, we're going to do backward. We're going to do it backwards. So we're going to do, if this is true, then I also know that when I see something that's like this, a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, that can be factored out into a plus b squared, or a plus b times a plus b, right? And if I see something like a squared minus 2ab plus b squared, then I'm going to know I can factor it out into a minus b squared, or a minus b times a minus b. Now it seems relatively simple enough, we just have to look for this pattern, but in order to do that, we are going to have to ask ourselves 3 questions. Those 3 questions are, number 1, is the first term a perfect square? In other words, is the first term something squared, right? Because we want it to be a squared. Let's do an example as we go. Let's say I have 9y squared plus 24y plus 16. Okay, so if I'm looking at that, my first question is the first term a perfect square? So I'm going to look at just the very first term and ask myself, is it a perfect square? Now, since it's 9y squared, we know that the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of y squared is y. So the square root of this whole thing is going to be 3y. So yes, the first term is a perfect square. So question 1, yes. Question 2 is the last term a perfect square? Here, let me section this off. Is the last term a perfect square? So I'm going to turn to this and I'm going to look at my very last term in my equation, 16. Now we know that 16, the square root of 16 is 4. So yes, the last term is also a perfect square. So far so good. It's looking like it might fit our form. Question 3 is going to be, does the middle term equal 2 times the product of the square roots of the first and last term? Now I know that last one is a little bit more complicated of a question, but we're basically asking, because this is a squared and this is b squared, does what's in the middle equal 2ab? So we knew that if this is a squared, then our a is going to be 3y. And I knew that because if this is b squared, then our b is going to be 4. So what I'm asking myself here is this middle term equal to 2 times 3y times 4? That's what I'm asking myself. Is it 2 times a times b? So I'm going to do 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 times 3 is 24. So 2 times 3y times 4 equals 24y, which is what this is, which means yes. If I answered yes to all 3 of these questions, then it matches our form. All I have to be wary of now is this a plus sign or a minus sign? Plus, minus, see those differences there. And then I can rewrite this to be either a plus b squared or a minus b squared. Since this is a plus sign, I'm going to use this formula, and I'm going to rewrite this as a plus b squared. So a is 3y plus b, which is 4 squared. And I'm done. So it's the work on the front end is more answering these questions. Does it apply to all of these? You need to find your a, find your b, figure out what 2ab would be. If you answered yes to all 3 of these questions, then you can use this form, check plus or minus, and there you go. Good?